Hello and welcome to DNBC TV, where we bring you interviews with pioneers in the world of business. I'm Linda Tamim, and today I have the pleasure to interview motivational speaker, trainer, and coach, Mr. Spencer Horn. Spencer is able to draw upon his 29 years of executive experience to re-energize seasoned and emerging professionals and increase organizational effectiveness. He is currently the president of Altium Leadership and has previously worked with renowned companies such as IMAX Corporation, National Geographic Television, Radio City Productions, Disney Films, and more. Spencer, it's a pleasure to have you with us. Ever since the pandemic began, it's been a period of uncertainty for many of us. COVID-19 has not only affected people's physical health, but their mental health as well, with the lockdowns, with work shifting online, with many people losing their jobs even. So can you give us some tips to own the new normal, as you'd say, to be more confident, to perform better at work, and to succeed in these difficult times?
Yeah, this whole idea of well-being has been talked about for a long time, Linda, and it's even come more to the forefront in this last year. But a part of it that really hasn't been discussed is kind of that mental well-being. And we'll talk about that hopefully on a little bit later. But owning the new normal, we really have to be conscious about it because there's so many distractions. We've lost so much of the frustration and the stress comes from change. And change is always a constant. We've had so much in this last year, and that creates so much stress for people because they're just, can we just get back to a little bit of normal? Part of the grieving process is losing things that were just normal to us, like getting together for birthdays and celebrations, right, and even just working face to face. The loss of that. So many of our children that haven't been able to be together in school have been impacted tremendously, and all the extra burden that it's taken for us to be able to take care of them and loved ones, and just not having the help that we used to have. So what do we do? Part of it is recognizing that we have lost these things. And it's okay that sometimes you go through that grief cycle, like Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, the Swiss psychiatrist, talked about, and really recognize that sometimes frustration and anger is very normal. But we want to get back out of it. Not that everything is going to be okay, but that we're going to be okay. So how do you get to where you're okay? One of the things I like to do is start with just look for the humor. Look for what's funny. And, when it was starting out, people, would turn off their cameras or there were so many posts on social media about what I look like, 30 seconds before I get up before my meeting. I don't have to worry about my hair like you do, Linda, but some people have, is this a camera off meeting or a camera on meeting?
No, it's definitely a camera on meeting.
so the question is, do we just have some fun with it? The Zoom meetings, people get frustrated, but what a wonderful opportunity. Here I am meeting with you. You're in Lebanon. I'm in the United States. To me, that is, it's amazing. And that's another thing, is to be grateful for. Think of the things that you're grateful for in your life, the time that maybe you have now to spend with your family that you didn't have before. Right. That to me is so key in owning the new normal, is to list all the things that you're grateful for that you still have. And I think that is very helpful. I think another thing that really helps us to own the new normal, Linda, is to change the kinds of questions that we ask. There is great power in the questions that we ask. I know I'm out of sync. I apologize for that, but think about it. If all these challenges are happening, sometimes the question is, why is this happening to me? Maybe I lost my job, and it's like, what happened? What is the government doing? Why aren't they doing more? Why isn't the vaccine rolling out? And we start to have questions that are focusing our concerns outward. And so we start becoming helpless. Like, I am dependent on the government, and I can't believe that this virus happened. Maybe it's the Americans' fault. Maybe it's somebody else's fault. And we start to ask questions that are not very empowering.
So stop victimizing yourself, basically.
Absolutely, that's part of it. But change the question. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me? Because the brain is so powerful, Linda, it will answer whatever question you ask of it. Whatever you focus it on, it will go out and just, it will, it's like a supercomputer that never rests until you change its focus. Like I'm going to little experiment with you right now.
Okay.
Close your eyes for just a second.
All right.
And whatever you do, do not picture a red bicycle.
Okay.
Don't picture a red bicycle.
It's kind of hard to do it now that you said it.
It's exactly right. So open your eyes. But the whole idea is I focused your brain on well, I told you not to do it. The brain, first of all, doesn't understand not. But if I say, what is wrong with our government, or what's wrong with my employer, my boss, what is our mind looking for? What's wrong?
Right.
But if
it focuses on that.
We said, exactly. And so what happens is we begin to abdicate control and power to change our circumstances. But if we change the question, our brains start to get very creative about solving the problem. So let's say, for example, you had a change in your job. Maybe you were laid off, maybe in the short term. And I don't know, maybe there's just a problem there. When the pandemic hit, lost tens of thousands of dollars worth of business because things just changed. Instead of saying, oh, woe is me, it's like, well, okay, what can I do now? What can I do differently? And I quickly learned, I need to create a studio. I need to get new equipment. I need to learn to be able to have trainings and keynotes online. What else can I do? Who can I talk to? Who knows something about this that I don't know? Who can help me with this problem? Who knows people that may be hiring? All of a sudden, what happens when you change the question, your brain starts to find solutions, and that enables you to take more power in your life and start to solve the problem. So change the questions that you're asking. That is a very, very powerful tactic.
I think it's definitely a way to start, Spencer. Absolutely.
Yeah. And let me come back to that gratitude. I have a podcast, and it's called the Team Performance Podcast, Winning Ways for Uncertain Times. And I started that because I wanted to empower people to be able to deal with the challenges of this past year. But one of the guests I had on, a friend of mine, her name is Nicole, and she lives in, here in the United States, but she has a very interesting family, just a beautiful family. She has 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. And her 1 boy is 13 years old, and they happen to be here in my home state, which is, they're not from here, but they come here because of a special hospital. Yeah. He has severe autism plus life-threatening diseases, and he is just having seizures, and he's in terrible pain, and he is completely unable to communicate. He can't do anything for himself. She has to feed him, has to brush his teeth.
Oh, wow.
And so she has all these challenges. She grew up, ran away from home at 15, was abused. And so she had all these problems, but she has this beautiful family, but this huge challenge with her son, Ryan. And I ask her, how do you handle it? And she says, I just focus every day on how grateful I am to have him in our life.
Oh, wow. That is, so inspiring. Yeah.
She says, there are times when I am literally balled up on the floor of a hospital floor, just in tears, crying. And I'm sitting at the base of the mountain thinking, I can just sit here and self-pity and be unhappy, or I can stand up and start to climb that mountain and be grateful for the ability that I have to climb that mountain.
You know what?
The ability that I have to have this son in my life. Anyway.
No, you're making me very emotional right now, and I have goosebumps just listening to you saying those things. It's just, it's quite powerful, Spencer. And I tell you what, gratitude is definitely the way to start. Now, I'd like to move on a little bit now forward in that conversation. So, stress is a big part of our daily lives, unfortunately, more so now in these difficult times, in these times of pandemic. So how do we address stressful situations? Maybe you could give us a couple of techniques to deal with it?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. I mean, you've got stressful situations. That means maybe you're having a conversation with a boss or a coworker that is difficult or not agreeable, or maybe you don't like them, or you don't get along with them, or maybe you have stress because you're working too many hours and you have too many worries on your shoulder. Or maybe there's personal relationship problems. There's a couple of things that you can do when the brain, when it's under pressure, tends to react emotionally. And that's not your friend. You want to be able to have productive conversations. So one of the things I like to teach, Linda, is that conflict is good. But I'm not talking, there's a range of conflict, right? There's normal tension, and then there's destructive conflict. We want the positive kind. That means, which means disagreement. It's called affective, is not what we want. That means I don't like you. You're frustrating me. I don't like your, But if we have cognitive disagreement, that's about ideas and process. We can disagree about that, not about, style and personality. So understand there's a difference of types of conflict. And if we get affective, that can cause us stress. And when that happens, sometimes we need to step away. One of the things that can help you with a stressful situation is just say, now's not a great time. If you know what your triggers are, if there's a triggering conversation, just say, I'd really like to have this conversation with you. And right now I need to maybe take a break. And can we come back a little bit this afternoon or tomorrow morning and re-engage? And that's it's interrupting a pattern of an emotional situation that can help us come back and be more powerful in a stressful conversation, because then we can mentally prepare for it. That's one thing. Asking questions actually is another way to handle stressful situations, because when somebody they're coming at us and we respond emotionally, if you ask a question like, tell me more about, what's going on or where that concern is coming from, it's causing the other person to get out of their emotional brain and into their logical brain. And it causes you to get out of when you have to ask a question, it engages the logic center of your brain. So asking questions is another great way in the moment to relieve stress. Oxygen. When you are stressed, the body releases cortisol, which is the stress hormone that increases your heart rate. It makes you sweat, it makes you warm, makes you get ready to fight or flight. But oxygen actually breaks down the hormones, cortisol, adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. So learning how to deep breathe is not just a Zen technique. It's a chemical reaction that will help free your brain up. There's so many more, but manage your energy. I want to finish with this. I know our time is short. I want you to just picture a cup, Linda. Yeah. And I want you to think, and in your mind, I want you to draw a line where the water in the cup is, okay? And the water in that cup represents stress.
Okay.
And at the top of the cup, there is a faucet with water coming in. That's all the expectations, all the things that that we have to deal with in this, the stressful situations, jobs boss we don't like, or whatever. At the bottom of the cup, I want you to picture holes. Little holes that the water can come out. What relieves that pressure? For me, it's exercise. I spend time to go run in the mountains where I unplug, and maybe I listen to a podcast or to a book, but I do that while I'm running. I don't think, I don't take phone calls.
Yeah,
or anything
it's therapeutic. Like yeah.
It is. I take time off. Sundays are days that I don't work. Now, maybe Saturday or Sunday is a day that you can put aside the work. And that makes the hole in the bottom of my cup that lets stress out. What do I eat? What am I eating? How am I managing my energy? There's multiple kinds of energy. There's emotional energy. There's physical energy. There is, spiritual energies, all these types of things. What am I doing to let out that stress? Because stress is always coming in. Can I slow that flow at the top and increase the hole at the bottom by some of the activities that I do? These are some of the things I do. Listen, there's 4 pillars of resiliency. There's physical, which when you can handle with exercise. There's mental. That's, where you can just take a break cognitively and read and turn off your phone. There's social, it's meeting with people. And then there's spiritual. And if you address all of those, it will help.
It will definitely help, I'm sure. Spencer, these are pretty interesting techniques. I'd like to thank you for being with us today. It's been such a pleasure having you, and it's been very enriching for me to learn about all of those techniques and those tips to cope with stress and to own the new normal, as you say. It's been quite a difficult year for a lot of people out there, and hopefully it is going to get better. We're all hoping for better days ahead. Thanks a lot, Spencer, for the valuable information. And that was motivational speaker, trainer, and coach, Mr. Spencer Horn. Thanks again for joining us on DNBC TV.
You are watching DNBC Business Channel.